Today, we will talk about a very important development in the Ukraine war file, a development that brings back to the forefront all the events we've witnessed in the past months. From that historic meeting between Trump and Putin to the first peace plan that was rejected by Ukraine and the European countries, all the way to the new plan, which has sparked a lot of controversy today or in the past few hours. What's remarkable today is that the plan currently being discussed is almost the same plan that Kyiv rejected, and that Europe rejected just a few weeks ago. And now, with Putin's constant statements about these proposals and these media reports, it is said that Europe is preparing to head to Washington once again to discuss the issue. The big question is, are we repeating the previous scenario? Especially after Trump said the decision is now up to Ukraine? Especially after Trump confirmed that Zelensky has a very short deadline to decide his position on this plan. These developments, along with movements inside Ukraine itself, American statements, differing European statements, and the emergence of Zelensky's successor today, all make this issue enter a new phase. In fact, what is this phase like? This is what we will reveal today. Stay with us. Dear viewers, peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings, and welcome to our renewed meeting today, God willing, in this episode of the Opinion Today series, dear viewers. When we talk about peace in Ukraine, we cannot overlook the previous events that took place in this context. Because certainly, the first thing that comes to mind is the historic Helsinki summit that brought together Trump and the Russian President Putin, and the grand reception that Trump gave Putin at that time. The second thing that also comes to mind, Trump's plan for peace in Ukraine. I mean, we're talking about the first plan that was just a few weeks ago. So what's strange today is that Trump's new peace plan, which I explained to you in the previous episode, is the same plan that was being discussed just a few weeks ago. It's exactly the same plan as the one from last August. There's almost no difference. Ukraine rejected the first plan at that time, and the European countries rejected it even more strongly. And we saw how quickly the European countries rushed to visit the White House, and how Trump received them at that time. With great condescension, as if they were his students or as if they were his employees at the White House. So today, when we talk about this topic, we can never forget such events. Why? Because today, maybe the same scenario will be repeated. So, Russian President Putin said that Trump's plan is good and can be relied on to end this conflict. Does that mean Russia accepts this plan? Of course. But he also said that the Europeans will reject this plan because they still imagine that they can inflict a strategic defeat on Russia. Today, the British Sky News network said that Europe's leaders today are considering the possibility of heading to America immediately to hold talks with Trump about this issue. It's as if they want to repeat the same scenario from a few weeks ago, heading to the White House and pleading with Trump to back down from this plan, and maybe even offering new and secret concessions to America. Their humiliation is severe. What's important to them now is whether Trump will back down from this plan. Because today, just so everyone knows, this issue is now in the hands of America, truly in the hands of Trump. That's why Trump's message was strong. It was very clear. Trump gave Zelensky only about a week to agree to this plan, to this surrender plan. Trump gave the final warning. He said if Ukraine doesn't agree this time, America will stop any support or military cooperation with Ukraine, then Ukraine will collapse militarily. And he said one way or another, he said if Zelensky doesn't like this plan, then let him keep fighting until we see Putin walking around the capital. How? You mean Trump? Did he say it literally? He said that Ukraine has no leverage, no psychological advantage, meaning it has nothing, meaning it will be defeated militarily and cannot continue fighting. So imagine with me that there are dozens of countries supporting and standing with Ukraine throughout this war. I mean militarily and with intelligence, including strong countries like America, France, Britain, Germany, and in the end, Russia is advancing militarily, achieving field victories. It is gaining new territories. So what if only America withdrew? What if it alone withdrew this military and intelligence support? Really? We'll see. Protein. How is he roaming the capital? So the thing that everyone should pay attention to today, and I said this months ago, is that this war cannot end except with a major war. Or with a great and historic victory for Russia. Putin says that any peace agreement must address the root causes that made this war start, the root causes. That means Putin will never accept Ukraine joining NATO. He won't accept that. He will never accept the deployment of foreign troops in Ukraine, and he will never accept plans to arm Ukraine. Putin says if Ukraine wants foreign troops on its territory, meaning troops to guarantee security, then let them be Chinese troops. That means he only trusts China, nothing else is possible. Putin will never accept anything else. Today there was a very important statement that really impressed me, honestly, a statement from Trump's deputy, G Defense. What did he say? He said that those who are criticizing Trump's plan today, meaning the Europeans, are living in a utopian world, living in a fantasy world, because they think they can defeat Russia by tightening sanctions and supplying Ukraine with more weapons. And none of this is possible. I mean, more than 3 years have passed, and all the Western countries are participating in this war in one way or another, through sanctions, weapons, money, aid, and so on. As I said, Russia ultimately wins, advances militarily, and gains new territory. And watch Russia closely. Does not consider what is happening today in Ukraine a war. It does not call it a war. It only calls it a military operation. If Russia had started a real war with a scorched earth policy, like what they are doing today with various Arab and Islamic countries, Russia's borders today would have been with Romania and Poland. Since this war began, Russia has tried to avoid direct conflict as much as possible. Getting involved in a scorched earth war or in events that Western countries could exploit. To pin accusations like terrorism or genocide or anything of that sort. She knows that international laws and organizations are in the hands of the West, so they can do anything like that. So Trump's deputy, G Defense, said that a peaceful solution can be achieved through smart people who live in the real world, not through failed diplomats who live in a world of fantasy. So today, the thing that makes this peace plan different from the previous one, Trump's previous plan, is that America is really determined. Any insistence on stopping this war, even in this way, means granting a complete victory to Russia. What confirms this is an article published by the American newspaper Financial Times. It said that America has set a strict deadline for accepting this plan. It said that November 27th, which means next Thursday, is the last deadline for Zelensky to accept this plan and stop the war. The newspaper said that American officials assured the Europeans that this plan is absolutely non-negotiable. This means that the Europeans must accept it as it is, because any change to this plan will make the Russians reject them. Therefore, at that point we will be back to square one, and this war will continue. Trump is putting the Europeans in a position where their only option is to accept this plan. The newspaper reported this meeting was held at the American embassy in Ukraine, and that it witnessed conflicts and skirmishes between these parties, to the point that the discussion got out of control. She said that among those present at this meeting, there was someone from the American delegation who told the attendees that Russia has a strong industrial base, so it cannot be completely defeated. Also, the United States Secretary of Defense, Dear Skoll, was present at this meeting and said that the United States military loves Ukraine and supports Ukraine. But the military assessment currently confirms that Ukraine is in a very difficult situation, meaning now is the time for peace. He said Trump now wants peace, and for Zelensky to accept this plan next Thursday. All those present at this meeting, meaning the ambassadors of European countries, Zelensky, diplomats and Ukrainian military officials, were shocked. They did not expect this to happen. But the really strange thing about this meeting was that Amrov, the head of the Ukrainian National Security Council, was in this meeting and was already aware of the details of Trump's plan. In fact, he said that he supported this plan. And this made everyone wonder, how could the head of the Ukrainian National Security Council accept this plan, a plan of surrender? I mean, this person in this position, he's the most nationalist, the one who refuses to surrender. How could he accept surrender? This is not normal at all. This perhaps reveals one of America's most important cards in Ukraine, which is that Amrov, he is America's man in Ukraine. He might be Zelensky's successor. If the Europeans, or we could say the liberals, put Zelensky in Ukraine to expand their sphere of influence there in Ukraine and to limit, this plan was made to limit Russia at this point. So now America or Trump will reverse roles with the Europeans and Americanize Ukraine. It is Trump. He is the one who turned the tables. When he secured the rare natural minerals agreement a few weeks ago, but now he will completely turn the tables. He will turn the tables by putting Zelensky's successor at the head of Ukraine, by appointing Amrov, especially since reports confirm he has recently visited America multiple times. He was in Miami just a week ago, and he met with American officials only 2 days ago. There are reports confirming that he has had repeated visits and meetings with the Americans recently, which means there is another secret deal on a personal level. And most likely he will be the successor to Zelensky and the next president of Ukraine, because now everyone is convinced that Zelensky's era is over today. Even the Europeans themselves admit that. I mean, after these cases, the corruption cases that have spread recently, the latest was $100 million, which was supposed to support the energy sector, but there was absolutely no trace of it. Now preparations are being made to replace Zelensky, and the Europeans already have a successor for Zelensky. They have been preparing this for some time now through a series of statements and through media propaganda. But it's clear that Trump is going to turn the tables. And he will risk his life for this. And speaking of that, if everyone remembers, I said this months ago before Trump became president of America. I said that Zelensky, in the end, he won't be able to sign a surrender agreement. So what will happen? He will be replaced with another president so that he signs this agreement, the surrender agreement. And you said that he would flee abroad. His fate will be disastrous. The Russians will never forget the level of hostility that Zelensky has shown towards the Russians, towards Putin, towards the Russians in recent years. It is certain that Russian intelligence will take revenge on Zelensky wherever he goes and wherever he hides, no matter how long it takes, because when his role in Ukraine ends, everyone will turn against him. He will have no value to the Europeans. The former United States Army colonel named Douglas said that British intelligence will eventually work to smuggle Zelensky to Israel. Along with him, $1 billion in cash. This means highly important intelligence data. Douglas's statements, these are not baseless, because he always points to things that turn out to be true. So the strange thing is that Zelensky at that time, if he fled to Israel, he would be an easy target for Russian intelligence agents who are very active inside Israel. Wherever Zelensky goes, his fate will be disastrous. His role is clearly over. But what's even stranger today is that there was a statement just today from a former United States military intelligence officer who's of course controversial for a number of statements, named Scooter Ritter. What did he say? He said that Zelensky's fall will lead to the fall of all his allies in Europe. He said that the fate of most leaders in Europe, like Macron, Starmer, Ursula von der Leyen, and others, is tied to Zelensky's fate. If Zelensky falls, they will fall with him. So the important thing is that Trump will turn the tables on the Europeans. Now, they have a specific deadline, which is next Thursday. They must accept this agreement. If they accept this plan, an American delegation made up of top United States Army generals, led by the United States Secretary of the Army, will go to Russia to finalize the rest of the agreement details with the Russians. But if they don't accept it, America will withdraw any military and intelligence support directed to Ukraine. At that point, Ukraine will completely collapse. That might happen through a military coup against Zelensky. In any case, today, all the indicators suggest that Amrov will be the next transitional man in Ukraine, and maybe now the first signs have started to appear. That's because the latest news, the latest reports coming now from inside Ukraine say that the National Anti-Corruption Bureau in Ukraine has started to move in this direction, launching a wide-scale operation to uncover corruption cases in Ukraine. So they started searching the homes of many businessmen connected to Zelensky, some of whom have fled and some are still inside Ukraine. And now they have even started searching the homes of the former Minister of Energy. And this is just a prelude. In the end, this investigation will reach Zelensky if he doesn't agree to this Trump plan. If he doesn't agree, will Zelensky be removed or sidelined because of corruption cases? The American newspaper Politico said that Zelensky's wife has started today to encourage him to leave politics. And of course, if he leaves politics, he can only escape to another country and hide. So, I still expect that there will be a disastrous fate for Zelensky. Now, we will wait for the developments of this exciting case as it enters a truly interesting phase. And we will wait for next Thursday. Will Zelensky agree or not? Will we see a ceasefire agreement or not? What will these coming days be like? Answer us in the comments below this video. Peace be upon you and goodbye.